Welcome, everybody, to the Power Talk podcast from Family First Life Empowerment. Today, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Chris Wikel, Diamond producer, joining us. Chris, thank you so much for joining us and coming in to help us out. We want to talk about today the tools and resources that are available to new agents when they're getting started. So, Chris, you had a great getting started. You hit the ground, you asked a ton of questions, and you figured things out really quickly. So, if you just take a minute to give a little bit of background about yourself, what you were doing before, how you found us, and we'll go from there.
Okay, super. Thanks for having me. It's a great honor to be here. So I guess background about myself. My name is Chris Wikel. I'm married. I have 5 children. I've been here now about 17 months. Before that, I was killing bugs for a company. Everybody laughs about that, but that's what I did. I did it for maybe 10 months. It's kind of a transition job when I retired from the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps, I was a criminal investigator. That's what I did. So I was looking for my next gig, what I was going to do, something I could help people with when I got out of the Marine Corps. And bugs was the first handy thing. But after that, of course, I've been with Family First Life, and I've been very blessed and fortunate since I've been here.
Awesome. Well, Chris, I can tell you that I won't forget your initial start. I think out of our entire team, you, at that point and still today, ask the most questions, and I think that was a huge key for you getting off to a quick start. So let's just talk about that for you. What that looked like and the different tools that you used to really catapult your start here at Family First Life.
So yeah, when I came aboard, it was about that same time that the COVID was beginning to be talked about in the news a little bit. And then as I got up and rolling, it smacked me dead in my tracks because they weren't doing any of the testing and everything was going on. Of course, I'd finished up the online portion of it, and I was really, really wanting to get going but couldn't because there's no test sites open for the first month and a half or so. So I started diving into, and they didn't have all the tools and the formats that we have now, the fflempowerment.com website, all the different features that you can go in and actually get a download of exactly what to do and how to do it. That was all kind of more haphazard. You have to search around for it a little bit more. And I'm asking a lot of questions. And sometimes I felt a little bit like a burden when I was asking those questions because I would just inundate you and Freddie with a ton of questions, but it was because I was genuinely curious and wanted to figure out which direction to go and what I should do next. And I've come to find that it's a great treat to be able to ask somebody questions and get answers back. So as I went along and I asked those questions, once I exhausted one source, I just move on to another. And, Facebook was full of answers, YouTube was full of answers, and this business is kind of unique, I think. And, you come aboard and you feel a little bit like a toddler trying to figure out your way in the world. And as you go along and you start getting more information, you get a little more mature, and then you figure out some of this information is kind of key for me to figure out on my own, not because it couldn't be spoon-fed to me, but sometimes it's more important to figure out the answers on your own and show a little bit of initiative. So I hope that I haven't been asking as many questions as I used to, but I ask it until it's answered.
No, you do. And actually, I will say I've loved all your questions. That shows someone who has a desire to succeed and is willing to work it, because most of your questions weren't like crazy off the wall questions. They were very specific to what was happening. And it just showed that you were looking to continually grow and get better. And so questions, we love questions. What I also loved about you, Chris, is you never asked me the same question over and over. You'd ask me a question once and that you would take it and then we wouldn't revisit that topic. I could tell not only were you asking, but you were taking in what you got in response. And most of the time you were implementing it. Not everything works for everybody, but I could literally see or hear you implementing what we talked about immediately. So that's a big thing, and I think everybody needs to know it's okay to ask questions. This is a case where, there really are no dumb questions, but be sure when you're asking, you are taking it in and implementing it, because that's how you get better. Let's talk about some of the other tools that you used. You are about an hour and a half from our office here in Wilmington. Is that right?
Yeah, give or take.
Okay. I know in the beginning you came here a lot to dial, right? I mean, directly to the office. So let's talk about that. Why you made that hour and a half drive to dial, and what kind of impact it had on your business.
Yeah. So initially, I did make the trip down here at least once a week. And the reason being is because most of the successful people were in the office, or I was plugged into a group, a team, and we were all trying to achieve the same thing. Brandon and I were actually talking about that out there earlier. The synergy that you get from seeing somebody else book an appointment is pretty priceless. So there's a lot of value in taking that trip if you're within a couple hours to take that trip once a week to an office and actually get connected with other people who are trying to achieve the same thing. And you get a ton of support and help and perspective. And so, everybody, I think anybody that says they don't have anxiety when they sit down to begin dialing is a liar. We all do. Every single one of us, including people who have been around for years doing the same thing. But as soon as you sit down and you book that first appointment, the anxiety quickly goes away, and then it becomes kind of fun, I dare say, And when you get around other people that are doing the same thing, it just kind of picks you up and gets you moving in a positive direction. So it's worth the drive.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I think that's important for people to realize, what you can pick up in the office, the vibe, the energy, not to mention the tips, Now, if you're nowhere near an office, or like for you came once a week, but the other times you joined us on Zoom dial. So let's talk about that as either a replacement if you are, more than 3 hours away from an office, or to supplement if you just make it to an office once a week.
Yeah, so I mentioned this before to somebody, I can't remember who, but the Zoom is not for me, it's not for you. It's for the brand new agent who's just getting started and has been on there for about a month trying to figure out exactly what we do. It's a place where you can connect to somebody else who's kind of like you as far as the way that you speak, or your tonality, or some of the inflection in your voice, and you can find somebody who sounds similar and you can build on that. So if you go into the fflempowerment.com website, you'll see several phone scripts for calling, They're really suggestions. They're starting blocks, I think, that they're a place to start, because I've changed my phone script probably 50 times. I don't know. Every time I find something else that's good or seems like it's better than what I have, I change it. So on Zoom, when you hear somebody say something, it's so clairvoyant, because you're almost like an observer from the outside, and you get to watch the whole conversation go down. And you can pick up something that's it's gonna make you successful on your own dials. And you also, here's another thing, and it kind of gets me going sometimes, is people get on Zoom dial and they have their video turned off the entire time. It's kind of a selfish perspective, right? I know you're nervous. I know it's scary to turn on your video and to turn on your audio, but that's how people are going to hear what you're saying. They're going to give you advice and give you some correction and direction that you really, really need. And once you do it for the first time, it's like Marco Polo. Once you get on there and you post for the first time, it's really not that big of a deal, and nobody on there is judgy. So I have never seen anybody berated on Zoom. I've never seen anybody made fun of on Zoom. Well, people have made fun of my lack of hair, but I think it was, I think it was good humor. But so I think it's just invaluable. It's so important to be on Zoom. It happens twice a week. If you're going to dial anyways, why not dial around company?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this business can be really lonely, and especially if you aren't anywhere near an office, then that Zoom dials, that's like dialing with a whole bunch of people. And let's be honest, sometimes it gets hysterically funny on there. I mean, Chris, you tend to be one of the most entertaining people on there because you have some crazy things you say in your dial script. When you ask if they have dogs and then you ask if they're lickers or biters, the whole room cracks up. The whole Zoom cracks up. The joking on with you about the hair is because you got it in your script. You're telling people what you look like when you get there. It definitely has opened up for a little bit of fun back and forth. And let's be honest, dialing isn't always fun. So if we can have a good laugh while we're doing it, then that makes it even better. Yeah. So I think that's a great thing. Let's also talk about Marco Polo and what you think of that and how you think that's impacted you when you were new and how it can help new agents.
Yeah. So I would say that Marco Polo is a great tool. First, if you don't know what Marco Polo is, you get on there, you literally record yourself on video. It takes you as much time as you talk, and then you get done. It's posted to a group forum where everybody can see what you just said, and they can answer back and respond. Really, really good tool. So some people, I think, can overuse it a little bit, and we've only got a limited amount of time when we're out on the road to take in everybody's posts. So if you're trying to get something posted and a point across, I think it's important to be short and concise. I talk fast. Everybody doesn't. I get it. But I don't think everybody wants to hear about your whole day. They want to hear about what's going on with you as far as your running goes, because people use that. It's a platform to develop and to get questions answered. Not trying to be preachy, but just, from a perspective of trying to keep things in line. Now, as far as the value of it, it's huge. So if you had a problem in a home, you can post that on there. Somebody's going to give you, or somebody will give you an answer back on how to overcome that. If you had a success in the home, you can also post that. People are going to give you answers on, what you may have done differently, or in this case, congratulations for doing it well, and it's going to help them because they're going to know how to overcome an objection or something like that in the future. So it's a great tool, and it's another way to keep us connected.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate what you're mentioning about being brief and concise. The important part of that is, again, as you mentioned, most of us are watching it in between appointments. And if you have a question and it's a long post, we honestly might not get to the end and be able to answer your question. Plus, there are other messages that we got to get to. So that brief is important. And what I really like is the way that a new agent can get on there and say, yes, exactly like you said, I left a house, I didn't make a sale, this is how it went. What would you guys have done? And literally before they get to their next house, they could have multiple responses to help them be better for the very next appointment.
So cool.
So it is a very powerful tool. And also, I think you're exactly right, guys. This is not Zoom and Marco Polo. They're not fashion contests. We don't have to look beautiful or perfect to be on there. Nobody is judging. If you've got something, if you have a question, don't hesitate to get on there. If you have a success, don't hesitate to share. Because if somebody else is having a bad day, you never know. Your success may help them decide to drive to that last appointment that's an hour in the wrong direction, So that's why we use it. And I think it can be very, very helpful.
Actually, it happened for me. Beaufort, North Carolina. It was about an hour and 45 minutes from my last appointment. I had one more to go. Had not been a good day, and somebody got in a Marco Polo and said, hey, guys, just a reminder, go to your last appointment because this happened to me. And I'm like, all right, here I go. And I drove out there and I made that sale. So, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So I think probably for us and our team, another tool that I don't see us using as effectively as I'd like us to is our Slack group. So let's talk about what you do with that in terms of what you share and, how that can also help people,
So there's 3 forums on Slack that I think are important. It's the daily submit. I still honestly don't know why it's titled that. It should be the weekly submit because that's what we put on there. Every Wednesdays we put down our appointments we ran, our AP, number of people we helped. So that's something we get on once a week. And then the general forum, which has just general topics for discussion. And then, of course, our empowerment Slack group. It's called Let's Grow. So that's actually Marco Polo.
Yeah.
But it's a good site to get on after you've come out of a home and you're want to let people know how you did in that home, what happened in that home, just a real brief synopsis. It's something you type in, you take a picture of your client, you post it on there, and you can say, hey, was so happy to help Mrs. Mary, who was trying to cover her husband in the event of her death, and then you kind of put down the information about the appointment itself. So it's short, sweet, and you send it out. It also helps you on your weekly submit if you need to go back and review the amounts. That if you put the amounts in there, you have it already in there.
That's a good point, because not everybody. Sometimes on Wednesdays, it can be a hassle trying to get all your numbers together. And looking back at your post under the in-home sales can definitely help you summarize them. So that is definitely a great thing. What I love about Slack are the emojis. You know, it's kind of like this amazing group chat where we, through the emojis that we're also used to using,
Yes.
that we can cheer each other on. You know, or even, you know, we can send that hug symbol for somebody who maybe is having a bad day, or the fist bump, like you got this, you know. I love that. I love the fact that multiple people are cheering us on. And we also do, under the empowerment Slack channel itself, we post all of our trainings and things like that. And then also part of our larger group, which is Empowerment Continental Soldiers and now SOAR as well. We share in there with different trainings that we have. So if you're not plugged in, if you don't have your notifications turned on, it's really easy to miss the good stuff that can help you get better at this. Not to mention, we've got Dom in there. He posts great inspirational stuff, and he shares all the training coming directly from his office. I mean, it's just a win-win-win across the board. You can't beat it.
Under the general forum, yeah, Dom is in there regularly. He also posts updates on lead discounts. He posts updates on different types of leads. Like I saw yesterday or the day before, he was posting somebody's text that they'd sent to him about the value of the age mortgage protection leads and how much they were really cashing in on those. So really good place to pick up information.
Absolutely. So again, if you're not in there, if you don't have your notifications on, guys, pay attention. It's a great place. Any other advice that you would give to a new agent that is getting started?
So I've just started a couple months ago, I guess maybe 3-4 months ago, the hiring process. So I've kind of seen some things through a different lens. So you go through all that training, and you somehow you come to the point where when you're sitting down the day before and you're buying your leads, and you buy 15 leads or you buy 25 leads, and they expect success from that, instant success from that. I would just talk about leads. I think leads are something that people have to understand. If you're not sitting down on your dial day with between 80 and 100 leads, you're setting yourself up for failure. There is no legitimate reason on earth, with all the lead discounts we have through the different vendors, as well as in the CRM.
And WorkSpots.
WorkSpots. I was thinking of that name. It didn't come to me. WorkSpots, that you shouldn't be able to buy leads. There's a 50% off coupon a couple days ago, so that would have been a great time. Even if you bought, the 60-day-old leads, 30-day-old leads, age mortgage protection leads, and then you throw a 50% on top of that, they're dirt cheap. So an example, I just got back from Florida. I was down in Florida for about a month visiting family, and I'd went out and I'd bought 70 leads, and they were on a 35% discount. Those 70 leads over that next 2 days got me $5,600 in AP. So you just can't, and it cost me $190 for those leads. There's so many ways to make sure you're set up with plenty of leads. So please do yourself a favor and sit down with enough leads. Beyond that, I would talk about making sure you're on Zoom, like we said, setting yourself up for success with Zoom and plugging in. I think plugging in is so important.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit about dialing those leads, because I think new agents sometimes underestimate the level of work that we actually put into dialing and what it takes to have a successful dial day.
Yeah, I've said this before. It's called dial day, so it's a day. Just expect it's going to be a day. I see a lot of people. I was having a conversation just earlier today. When you come in and you sit down, if you don't clear out the distractions, whether that's in an office space, especially in your home, and let your loved ones or your significant others know this is my time. I have to do this. If I don't do it, they don't expect me to be successful for the next couple of days. You're sitting down for a day. If you go into it with that expectation, it's going to take me a day. Should it take you a day if you've been doing this for 6 or 8 months? No. Probably more realistically, it's going to take you 4 or 5 hours. But if you set that whole day aside, all the rest of the time is just bonus time. And when I come into the office or I'm sitting in my office at home to dial, I want to be done. I mean, I don't want to do that all day. So I sit down, I'm like a robot, and I just dial like a robot. So literally, I'm hanging up one, I'm dialing the next, hanging up the one, I'm dialing the next. You see me when I come in here with my lunch because I don't want to stop and take a lunch. I want to dial through that because it's time that I get on the other end to do other things I need to do or that I want to do, spend time with family, or if it's some business stuff I have to do, there's always something to do. So just look at your dial days as days, and then you won't be disappointed if you're sitting there for 7-8 hours to get it done. But get those appointments booked. It sets you up for success.
That is really good advice, and I think a healthy perspective for new agents to come and look at this. It is, do you want to dial all day, or do you want it to take all day to dial? Mm-hmm. If it takes all day, but I'm working, then that's okay. But if I've been slack and, it's middle of the day and I've only got 50 dials, I mean, you're not going to get there. If you consider a dial takes roughly a minute, and we have a lot of people, that don't answer, but you do have some. I mean, on average, you should have between 40 and 50 dials, in an hour. And if you're not dialing at that pace, then it's time to look at it and make some adjustments. So, and the distractions can be lethal. And if you are dialing from home, it's funny how all of a sudden you'll have those urges to, go clean up something, go load the dishwasher or do a load of laundry. And you never have those urges any other time but dial day. So it's best to avoid that if we can. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you just like to share?
I would say that so when you get into Family First Life, your direct upline, whoever brought you in the Family First Life, may not be the very best person to mentor you as you go along for personality reasons or whatever the reason may be. Maybe they're not going the same direction, or they're not going as fast, or whatever the case may be. That's not a problem with Family First Life. So Family First Life specifically, Sean Mike specifically, has opened it up and said, find somebody or find several somebodies. They don't have to be on your team. It doesn't matter. You can ask somebody else questions. You can be mentored by several people within Family First Life. So just for the people coming on that are new, if you haven't found somebody that you connect with, keep looking. I mean, just look at the Facebook, look at YouTube. There's so many places that you see TNLs where you see people from Family First Life. And if you reach out and call those people, I've yet to have anybody go, I don't have time for you.
That's a really good point. And, I think also, even within our own team, I feel like we've been really blessed. We've got a team of people who all want to help each other. Doesn't matter whose team you're on within here. Across the board, everybody is caring and will take a phone call and will help. And also outside of our team, we're blessed to be part of Golden State with Dominique Rogers. Mm-hmm. And, but myself personally, I'm further blessed by having Athena Villanueva of FFL Coastal as my main mentor.
She's awesome. Yeah.
Yep. And, I couldn't even list all the different things that she's helped me with all along the way, and still to this day, every day. So it's the beauty of this, what Sean has set up, is that we are all here to help each other. So, your upline, of course, has your best interest at heart, but every now and then it's just not quite the perfect fit, and that's okay. Call the person above them, or call another person on the team. Look on Facebook, watch other trainings, reach out to anybody. We are all here to help.
Absolutely.
So, yep. So I just want to thank you, Chris. I know you bring a lot of great tips to people all the time. You are a person that people reach out to when they're struggling. You may not know it, but a lot of people tell me, yep, I talked to Wikel and it's always a good thing. So I just want to thank you for what you bring to our team and for what you are passing on, paying forward, I guess, to the agents that you and your wonderful other half, Nancy, are bringing on as part of your growing team.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So thank you for joining us, Chris. We appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in for this episode of FFL Empowerment's Power Talk.